I had the intention to become a filmmaker, but I had no idea how to do it. So I worked out my own way, and maybe I should have asked a few people. I never did. So I started in theater, and I studied, and I worked in many small, unimportant theaters as an actor, as an assistant director. I worked to some extent with great joy as a puppet player in a traveling little puppet theater doing classical plays. Midsummer Night, Andoclus and the Lion, Turandot, and it was wonderful. You have a little microcosm. You have sound, you have lighting. Theoretically, you're in control, and it was a very romantic time. Then I got a job when I was very young as a production manager in a company shooting commercials. But in those days, it wasn't only commercials. Those were the days when industrial film, big industry, did 1 hour films every year. And we shot many of those, and it was new, it was exciting, a lot of responsibility. Had to learn a little bit flexibility. And in those days, I didn't really think much about the camera. I'd wanted to become a painter. I painted like crazy, nights after nights after nights. I was never happy. The images never really expressed what I wanted to express. And then I got an offer to work as a camera assistant. I was very lucky. It was very special. It was a production with lots of money, American television, but we didn't shoot news, we shot specials. Specials that had incredible money. I didn't know what was a big project, what was a small one. I just incredibly enjoyed the work, and I was lucky to find a wonderful teacher, a British cameraman who'd done everything. And he was a very wonderful teacher. He was a very hard worker, and I copied as best as I can what he did. And he was critical, he was demanding, and that was wonderful. And it also gave me experiences that were very surprising, very amazing. One of the first weeks that we worked together, we went to Berlin. We were shooting a film that was kind of a preconceived idea about Germany, fathers and sons. So find good old Nazis and freedom-loving sons. And yeah, if you look long enough, you can find some. And we came to Berlin, and something strange was happening. People were putting concrete blocks on top of each other. And Johnny, my cameraman teacher, said, "Okay, we'll shoot that." And I said, Why? Why does this belong in our film? And he said, because it's happening. That was new to me. But I wanted to be the best assistant. I wanted to make everything the best possible way. So as we walked towards where they were building the Berlin Wall, he did something that's incredible. He walked across the grass. You don't do that in Germany. And on the grass, there was a huge British vehicle, a tank. And on the tank was leaning some bored, uniformed person. And he was not only a wonderful cameraman, he always had this urge that wherever he met authority, he had to do something, to tease them. So first he walked across the grass. Second, he walked up to this uniformed man and he put on an official accent and he said, "Are you in charge here?" The guy said, "Huh?" He said, "Well, I happen to be a British taxpayer. I want you to take very good care of this vehicle. Can't pay too many of them." The guy said, "Oh, you fuck off." I stood there. I didn't understand the word. You don't walk on the grass. You don't talk to a uniformed man. And why do that at all? Yeah. So then we went to shoot building of the wall. And pretty soon, the East German police got active. They pulled out household mirrors with gold frames and tried to reflect the light into the camera. And Johnny said, "Dedo, tell them to stop that." And I said, "But Johnny," and I really wanted to do everything right. This is our side, this is their side. Yeah? They will not listen to me. It's the others. And Johnny said, "Why don't you talk to them? Ask them." And I said, "But I can't, it's the others." And he got very impatient. Finally he said, "What's the German word for once more?" I said, "Noch einmal." And he had a voice like the master sergeant at the trooping of the colors. And he was screaming across the wall, "Comrades, do it once more for the camera." And instantaneously, they all disappeared. And I stood there like lightning had struck me. And that's just one example of the many things that he taught me, not only about exposure and aperture and image composition, but he taught me also that I was very German. Next film we did was in England, and my English was rudimentary. I had difficulties understanding it. There were two British electricians, and they didn't really talk English. They talked in Cockney and often in rhyming slang, and I had no idea what this was all going about. So it was all very confusing but wonderful. They would look at me and say, "Dedo, this was a joke." I would say, "Thank you, a joke, thank you." And again I realized I was very German. And I still am. But doing films in over 40 countries, I learned to listen to people, to wait, sometimes to run 3 magazines without film because I didn't have the money, to wait until people would tell their stories again. And it was a wonderful present. And there were many intellectuals and artists, but also many very simple people the truck driver on the Amazonica, the poor fisherman who doesn't have a boat. He only has some logs tied together, and when the wind goes the wrong way, he may not come back. What values do these people have? Where do their values come from? And it taught me to become quite humble. Not to go out, make films and change the world, but to find moments that had truth in them. And it made my life very rich.
So how long were you an assistant cameraman for?
Very short. This was a wonderful series of NBC specials. And Johnny, my wonderful teacher, left. And he went to CBS, where he's still today with 82 years shooting. And he recommended to the producer that I should continue the series. So all of a sudden, I was shooting a series that had wonderful possibilities, and we shot films with Johnny as an assistant. We shot the first Western film on the Kremlin. I was supposed to be there for 6 weeks. I was there for 5 months because the whole American team left. In the meantime, I didn't know why. I was alone. I got calls. Today you're shooting news. I'm not the news cameraman. Yeah, but our news cameraman is not there. I didn't know what was going on. Until one day, going back to the hotel, there was a group of people standing halfway up the stairs, listening to a shortwave radio. That's not Russian. I listened for a long time. They were very intense, and the atmosphere was very dramatic. I didn't know why. But sometimes you just feel this, it's in the air. They were listening to Spanish. Many years later, I heard this was the Cuba crisis. And that's why I stayed 5 months. 8 cameras, 2 Blimp Mitchells, 6 Aries. Wonderful big project. Lighting the Kremlin at night for 50 ASA, no high-speed lenses. Incredible experiences. And learning, wonderful learning experience. Then I shot a film on, city film on Leningrad, the history of it. Part of the history was that there was a battleship and it fired a shot at the Winter Palace. And in some history books that changed the way history went. So we went to that ship and it looked beautiful and there was a full crew on it. And I said, well, it's amazing. A full crew on a museum ship. The guy said, this is not a museum. This is a battleship. I said, a functioning battleship? Meaning your guns do what guns do? I said, sure. I said, okay. Tomorrow I'll be back with a pyrotechnician from Lenfilm and we'll load your gun and we'll shoot. He said, yeah. Okay, why? He said, because this is film. To make it look more dramatic, I want flames and smoke. And also, if you would use your ammunition, I might not even see it. Because my camera doesn't always look. Sometimes it looks, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it's busy transporting the film. So I may even miss that short flash. And he said, yeah, but you and your guys from Lenfilm, you're missing out on an important point. A real gun has a recoil. It moves. I'll show you. I said, wait a minute. You're going to shoot now? I said, yeah, I'll show you. I said, wait a minute, let me get the camera. So I got a little handheld camera. I borrowed the headphones from the sound man. And I crouched down and braced myself. And I said, well, it looks better if the gun first moves over the camera. Looks more dramatic. And when it's at the right angle, then you shoot. The captain said, I don't understand this. You just tell the gunner. I said, okay, this means move. Yeah? Don't change the elevation. Move, move, move. And this means shoot. Okay, ready? Roll the camera. Move, move, move. Shoot. Wham! Took me a while to get back to my senses. And I looked. And they were all looking in a special direction. And I wondered why. And I looked. And we destroyed about 500 feet of windows. The gunner, the captain, would have never done that, to shoot at the houses. I didn't know where they were shooting it. I was just watching the gun. And I thought, that's terrible. That's going to be very expensive. Nobody ever complained. In Russia in those days you didn't. But the poor people didn't have a possibility to buy the glass. So for weeks there was cardboard in the windows. But he said, not this, something like this happened before. Not when I was captain, not the captain before me, but even before. There was also a filmmaker. He must have had a different camera. He wasn't as close to the gun. I was on a 10mm wide-angle lens. Said, this must have been different. They needed to move the camera all the way out to the front and further. So they built a wooden rostrum in front of the ship. And they had the same argument, and we said, well, you need the recoil. And the whole film team was on that wooden structure. But when they shoot, it's not only the gun that recoils. It's the whole ship that goes. And when the smoke was gone, the camera was gone, the crew was gone, the whole wooden rostrum had fallen 7 meters deep into the Neva River. And he said it was some filmmaker called Eisen something. Yeah. And I said, you haven't shot that gun since? He said, no, but we can. You want me to shoot again? It was for them a chance to show that they were a battleship.
Yeah.
And that they could impress a dumb foreigner. And they did, sure did. And I had endless, wonderful experiences, not all of them with such destructive consequences.
Yes.
But it was a wonderful life.